The country of North Korea is officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK. Yep, democratic. Funny, right? It is just a name for them. It doesn't have democracy, or they don't believe in it. North Korea has an isolated and tightly controlled command economy. In a command economy, the economy is centrally planned and coordinated by the government, making it a standard component of any communist country. There's a reason that the historical nickname of the Hermit Kingdom for the old unified Korea is now applied to the closed North Korea. The country is notoriously difficult to get information on, and its sanctions-hit economy is said to operate on several different levels, including a black market, with the government not even releasing official trade statistics. The government of North Korea determines what goods should be produced, how much should be produced, and the price at which the goods are offered for sale. A brief history of Korea. Korea was historically an independent kingdom. However, following the Russo-Japanese War, the Korean peninsula was formally annexed by the Japanese. Korea remained a Japanese colony from 19 forces in the northern region of Korea surrendered to the Soviet Union, and Soviet troops took control of the northern region of the country. At the same time, American troops took charge of the southern region. The newly separated regions appointed their respective leaders, and in 1950, North Korean leader Kim Il-sung, backed by the leadership of the Soviet Union, attempted to capture the US-backed southern region of Korea, the Republic of Korea, or ROK, sparking the Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. Kim Il-sung's attempt to capture the southern region of Korea and bring the entire peninsula under his communist rule was ultimately unsuccessful. The resulting stalemate split the Korean peninsula roughly in half. North Korea, DPRK, established its national economy through heavy industry first development and military economy parallel development. South Korea, ROK, established one of the world's most advanced modern-day economies. Economy. North Korea may be one of the most autarkic economies in the world, but it is far from isolated from global fluctuations. Market price data suggests that North Korea faces much more volatile fluctuations and often much more extreme price swings than those on international markets. At the same time, market prices in Korea do tend to move in a relatively similar direction as global price trends most of the time, although sometimes in a delayed fashion. This demonstrates that while the North Korean economy is often guided by factors other than global markets, it is far from insulated and isolated from global economic trends. GDP. $48.3 billion, nominal, 2023, $100 billion, PPP, 2023 estimated. GDP rank 135th, nominal, 2023, 136, PPP, 2023. GDP growth, 1%, 2023. North Korea continues its isolation from most of the world. Based on limited available information, North Korea's economic freedom score is 2.9, making its economy the least free in the 2023 index. North Korea is ranked last out of 39 countries in the Asia-Pacific region. North Korea's dictatorial leadership remains unwilling to open or restructure its economy. Despite experimenting with a few market reforms, the regime adheres to the system of state command and control that has kept the country and its people near bankruptcy for decades. The Communist Party controls every aspect of economic activity. The CIA World Factbook defines North Korea's industries as military products, machine building, electrical power, chemicals, mining, metallurgy, textiles, food processing, and tourism. Its main exports were minerals, metallurgical products, manufactures including armaments, textiles, and agricultural and fishery products, and its main imports were petroleum, coking coal, machinery and equipment, textiles, and grain, it says. Estimated industry accounted for nearly half of GDP, followed by services and agriculture, the factbook says. All North Korean businesses involved with China were also required to give part of their profits, usually more than 50%, to the government's financial organization known as Office 38 as a loyalty offerings. Who are North Korea's trading partners? Major trading partners include China, South Korea, Russia, Japan, India, and Thailand. The CIA World Factbook said China accounted for an estimated 67.2% of North Korea's exports and 61.6% of imports in 2011. South Korea accounted for 19.4% of exports and 20% of imports, while India received an estimated 3.6% of exports and the European Union provided about 4% of imports in 2011. Exports to China, which accounts for more than 90% of North Korea's trade, declined from $2.6 billion in 2016 to only $213.2 million in 2018. GDP per capita: $800 nominal 2023, $2,000 PPP 2023. GDP per capita rank: 178th nominal 2023, 180th PPP 2023. GDP by sector: agriculture 22.5%, industry 47.6%, services 29.9%, 2017 estimated. North Korea's decision to strictly control its border during the pandemic further depressed exports to China. In 2020, they fell to just $48 million and only grew to $58 million in 2021, despite global trade exceeding pre-pandemic levels. North Korean exports began to recover in 2022 as China and North Korea resumed trade via freight trains across the border and grew to $133.7 million, though still below pre-pandemic levels. However, through November 2023, North Korea's exports to China have already reached $267 million, exceeding the full-year total in 2018 when UN sanctions were fully implemented. The figure through November is 133% higher than through the same period in 2022. With North Korean exports to China averaging just under $27 million a month over the last 6 months, total exports for the year will likely end up just under $300 million. Power. While sanction level, Pyongyang has shown an ability to adapt in recent years. With exports such as coal and seafood under sanction, North Korea began to export items that previously were not part of its export mix. Watch movements, for example, surged from no exports in 2016 to 49.2 million in 2018 to become North Korea's top export item shortly after sanctions were fully implemented. North Korea also switched to exporting non-sanctioned metals, such as tungsten and molybdenum, that it had previously exported in lower volumes. The current resurgence in North Korean exports is being driven almost entirely by a surge in exports of wigs, false beards, eyebrows, and lashes. The current level of exports of these products also significantly exceeds previous levels. Exports in this category didn't top $1 million until 2016, and the previous high was $31 million in exports in 2019. These now account for 57% of North Korea's exports to China, or $151.8 million in exports this year. They also account for 86% of China's imports of these products. This surge in exports, however, is built on a fragile basis. Manufacturing. The industrial sector is organized into state-owned enterprises and production cooperatives, the latter being confined largely to handicrafts, marine processing, and other small-scale operations. The most important industries are iron and steel, machinery, chemicals, and textiles. Iron and steel production initially was centered at Songnam and Chongjin, but has been expanded to include the large integrated mill at Kimchek. Industrial and agricultural machinery is manufactured at Kangsan, near Pyongyang, and several other cities, including Hucheon. The production of chemicals is focused on fertilizers and petrochemicals, much of the latter being manufactured in the Anju area north of Pyongyang. The textile industry is centered at Pyongyang, Sinuiju, and Suncheon. Other products include cement, armaments, vehicles, glass, ceramics, and some consumer goods, mainly clothing and processed food. Nuclear. ADIU expects North Korea to refrain from testing nuclear weapons in 2023 to 24, as domestic economic adversity has boosted the country's economic and diplomatic dependence on China, which opposes further development of North Korea's nuclear programs. However, long-range missiles and advanced, more nimble launching platforms will continue to be tested to increase North Korea's bargaining power in any future negotiations with the U.S. This effort will be aided by stronger ties with Russia, which uses military technology in exchange for North Korean ammunition and diplomatic support. Despite North Korea's growing security threat, we do not expect armed conflict to break out with the U.S. or South Korea. The focus of potential negotiations with the U.S. will probably shift from complete denuclearization to restrictions on the scale and use of North Korea's nuclear program. The North Korean economy may be more internationally disconnected than most, but as this analysis shows, it is not insulated from global price changes. Through both legal imports and smuggling, price changes on global markets usually find their way to North Korea too, albeit with some delay. Price fluctuations in North Korea are more volatile than in global markets, which reflects the lack of transparent and easily available information on North Korean markets. Thus, although we cannot specify precisely to what extent even the supposedly autarkic North Korean economy is solidly connected to the rest of the world. However, that growth potential is also built on a fragile foundation that could as easily see exports decline this year. So North Korea's economy is what you thought, or do you think it is useless? So what do you think? How do we do? If we missed something, please say in the comments. And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.